Hey guys, Board Bob here. So right off the bat, you can tell that this is not the same map we've been using, and there's a reason for that, which is kind of what this video is about. It's kind of an intro into what we're doing here. I was asked to kind of go into a little bit more depth with combinators and kind of do a beginner's guide or a tutorial, if you will, on combinators. Um, so I figured I'd go ahead and do that. And in addition to that, if there's anything else that anybody else is not clear on from my other videos or even from their own playthroughs and things like that, I will be the first to admit I am far from a Factorio expert. I get a lot of my information from YouTube and from the wikis and from other people that are playing it, and also from hunt poking and cussing, and just playing around with the stuff. I've been playing Factorio for several years now, so there are some things that I know, but I'm not like one of these in-depth players. So, I don't know everything. But if there's something that you guys have a question about, if there's a blueprint that you found that you don't understand how it works or why it works, or you're having problems with some of your setups, or there's one of the things, an assembler or something like that in Factorio, that you're just kind of not wrapping your head around, and you have a question, by all means, throw it out there, hit me up, and we'll take a look at it. If it's a blueprint, we'll figure out how to get it to me, and we'll build it out, and we'll pick it apart a little bit at a time, and we'll analyze it and figure out how it works. If you got one of your own that's not working, we'll pick it apart and see how it works. And maybe not me will figure it out. Maybe somebody that's watching this channel will see something to figure it out. It's a good way to get a bunch of different eyes on it and what have you. So that's going to be the objective of this series. We're going to start. I don't know whether you want to call it a tutorial series or an explanation series or an analysis, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it a tutorial series just for the sake of YouTube. So in order to do that, one of the things I've done is I went ahead and I started a new map. Now this map, the resource areas, I've cranked them up to like 300 or 400% of normal. With regards to their richness, that way, it gives us the stuff we need to be able to work on the stuff. There are infinite supplies that we can use with the creative mode and things like that, but this gives us something we can work with if we need it. In addition to that, my starting area was down here, but I wanted to be close to oil and I wanted to be close to uranium, so we moved up here. So we've got everything. We've got water, uranium, oil, coal, iron, copper. Excuse me. Now this is based off the vanilla game. This is not SpaceX or anything like that. This is just the vanilla game. Now you see we do have biters on the map, but they're set up to friendly mode and they're set up to no expansion. They're just there in case we need them to experiment on. They'll be our guinea pigs if we need them, what have you. So this is going to be our map. I threw down some solar panels. I threw down some accumulators and substations just so we have some power. And I threw down a big piece of concrete so that we have a place to work. I will go in later. I know there's a mod to get rid of the grass. And I may do that. I may not do that if it starts to get in our way and starts to be a pain in the ass for us to see. So that's what this first video is. Basically, is just to touch base with you guys, let you know what's going on, let you know what the plan for this series is. If there's anything that you guys have questions about, send them to me. We'll look at them. That's basically what this is. If we're going to start going through some of the little odds and ends things and looking them over, and we're going to start with combinators because that's what I was asked. So let's start off with the most basic, simplest combinator there is, the constant combinator, and we're just going to cover that this episode. Now let's put one down. And then I'm going to go over here just for illustration purposes, and I'm going to put down an assembler. Of course, it's powered because of the pole. So we're going to tell the assembler to build whatever. It doesn't matter. It's not going to build it. It doesn't have any supplies. but we can see that what it's building. And the reason for that is because, of course, the Alt button. If we hit Alt, it turns that off. We don't see what's in anything. If we hit Alt, it brings it back. Same thing goes for our chests, right? Now everybody's used to that. That's the basic thing in Factorio. But what you may not know with Combinators, if you go into your settings menu, we're going to go into settings, we're going to go into interface, and right down here in the Alt mode, where it says your different options for Alt mode, this radio button right here says show Combinator settings in Alt mode. If we turn that on, okay, and we confirm it, and I leave it off because, you know, with the other combinators and stuff, we don't need to see this. But what I can do is, one of the two things that I can use Combinators for is to make signs. If you want to mark an area. Now, there are mods for making signs, what have you. But if I go and I lay down a bunch of these constant combinators, right? Constant combinators do one thing. They output a signal. In fact, let me go ahead and turn that off for a minute. All they do is output a signal. So if we take a pole here, all right, and we're going to want some wire in a second. All right, so I can tell a combinator, or a constant combinator, any of the items we can build, or process, or what have you, the ores, everything, right, is in here just like in all the other ones. You also have different signals here that you can use, and you can set it for. And I can set one of these signals, say chests, and then I can tell it a number, 400 for example. Okay, so now I have an output signal, and that output signal is going to say wooden chests 400. All right, and I can turn that on and off. I'm going to turn it off to start with. If we take a red wire, we can read that signal by hooking that red wire to a pole. Now, this is something that you're going to want to be able to do on a regular basis. You're going to want to be able to read the states of things, and this is how you do it. Now, in order to see what it is, if you put it to a pole that doesn't have anything else to it, you'll be able to see it. If you don't put it to a pole, the signal's still there. It's just not visible. Now, if we go and we turn this on and we hover over this pole again, you'll see over here we now have a signal that says wooden chest 400. That will never change until we change this number. If we change this number to 70, now it says 70. It's going to be whatever we set this to. Now, we can set multiple signals. We can have one that says this, and one that says this, etc., etc., etc. All these boxes. And if I hover over this, you'll see on the pole, all of those signals are present. So that's all a constant combinator does, is it sends out that signal, and it's whatever signal you set it out. Now, that doesn't mean much right now, but when we start getting into building some circuits, we can use these numbers and these signals to compare the rest of our system to, and say, I want to set a set number of 400 poles, and I can have my system compare its totals to that and say, wait a minute, it's not 400, it's plus or minus or whatever. So that's the first thing we can do with constant combinators. That's one of the only things they do. But here's the other thing we can do with a constant combinator. We'll get rid of these. We'll right-click them to get rid of them. I can go up here and go to this signal, and I can go H, right? And I can go I, right? And then I can leave this one alone and go to this one and go B, O, B, right? Now, we don't see anything right now. But remember how I said if we turned on over here, if we turn this on to where it shows in alt mode, I can now have a sign. You can do up to 2 letters, and well, actually you can do more than that. I believe you can do up to 4 letters on a combinator. So you could have your 4 letters, but it's going to show whatever you've set it to. So this is a quick and handy way of maybe marking something if you want to remember what's supposed to be here or what it's doing. Say you've got a bunch of meters, light meters that are showing things, and one of them is your output for your plant, your power plant, and one of them is the charge on your accumulators. One of them is how much fluid you've got in a tank. You can label each of those using these constant combinators. So those are the 2 things that a constant combinator will do. They will let you build signs, or they will put out a single signal or multiple signals that does not change over time. It's just going to be a reference signal for whatever else you're building. That is the absolute simplest combinator in the game, and that's how it works. So there you go. Now, like I was saying, the big thing to understand with a lot of this stuff that we're going to do going forward is how to read your signals on your system, right? And I'm going to show you a real simple build that, we want to go ahead and let us do this real quick because we're going to want power all the way across this. We're going to do a real simple build here, guys. This is going to be, let's disconnect that for now. This is going to be a power meter. Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So all the way up the scale from 0 to 100%, right? So if we link these together, and I'm just daisy chaining them one to the next, okay, we can measure all of the charge on our system because in a single connected system, the accumulators all have an equal amount of power. So if we have one, we could have 47,000 of these and one over here to monitor. And once they're all hooked up, they're all going to be on the same level once they're charged to the same level. All right? So I'm going to put this over here so we can see it. And I'm going to jump from this from this accumulator to these lights. And that's all you have to do to be able to read this, right? Now, if we go from the accumulator to the pole, we can see on the pole. All right, so if we click on this, now we can set this output level. You have to have a wire connected to it prior. If we just put an accumulator down and we click on it, it does bupkis. All right, but as soon as we connect the wire to it, it gives us this output signal option, right? And the only thing it will let us do is read the charge level. And it reads that charge level from 0 to 100% as a number from 1 to 100%. Now we can set that signal, again, to anything we want it to be, right? We can set it to, letters, numbers, blah, 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 blah. All right? I'm going to set it to red. And the reason, I'll show you why in a minute. But now, what I can do is I can go to each of these lights, and I can tell this light, use colors, which we just set it to red, right? And I can say enable or disable if red is greater than 0. All right? So anything greater than 0, this light is going to turn on. Now we're going to copy that, and we're going to paste that all the way down the line here. So all of them say red greater than 0. But then we're going to go back and we're going to change this one. We're going to do 10% or 10. We're going to do 20. Right? So we get 10, 20, 30. 10, 20, 30, 40. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. 60. 70. 80. And 90, right? Now on this one we're gonna turn off use color, okay? And we'll watch what happens. So that's 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. So anything over 90, this one will come on. Anything over 80 on down the line, right? So as this charges, it will send out this signal, and that signal will be based on that 0 to 100. So now when we fire up our lights aren't on because they have a condition to meet to turn them on. All right, and this is showing nothing because there's nothing there for it to show, right? Because there's nothing being outputted. As soon as we connect that to power, watch what happens. See, our number is coming up, and as our number comes up, our lights are turning on. And then when we hit over 90, boom, our lights come on. Now you cannot go in here and set these numbers this way. You have to input the color to them. So this is just a very basic way of doing it. There's a way of doing it with the arithmetic and combinators and what have you that we'll get into later. But just as a very basic meter for power or for I believe you can do the same thing with tanks and stuff like that. You just have to read the tank. But I just wanted to show you how to read an object, because that's going to come into play when we start looking at some of these other circuits. Now, if on the other hand, so this is a way I can monitor my accumulator charge without having to come over here and go, okay, my accumulator charge is full, and have to open that up every time. Now, let's give ourselves a drain on the system, right? So the beacon is using part of our power. Now, if we disconnect power and we have no more power coming into our accumulator, the beacon's going to start drawing power off of this accumulator, and what's going to happen? Our charge is going to go back down. So we'll be able to see that we're draining power out of our system, and we'll know when we're getting close to the bottom of our system, when when we're about to run out of power. And it's a quick way to be able to monitor it. So there you go. I just wanted to show you guys that. This is the kind of stuff we'll get into. I hope that kind of made sense to people. It's pretty basic. It should. But that's what we're going to start covering. We're going to start covering some of our other combinators in the next episode. Which one will we do next? We will do... Where are the combinators? Oh, there they are. Okay, so we got arithmetic combinator and decider combinator. More than likely, I'm going to say we're going to deal with the decider combinator next. We'll see, all right? When you get into the arithmetic combinator, you get into logic circuits and things like that. So next thing we're going to do is the decider combinator, and basically show the functions that it covers. Then we'll get into the arithmetic combinator, and then once we've kind of covered both of those and what their functions are, the episodes after that we'll start getting into how do you combine them and some of the simple circuits that you can make with them and things like that. All right, guys. So that's what we got going here. If you guys are interested, let me know. If you're not interested, tell me to piss up a rope, or whatever. If you guys have questions about other stuff, again, let me know that too, because once I've covered combinators, we're going to quickly run out of stuff to cover. So, if you guys have other questions and stuff, by all means, let me know. And what we may very well end up doing is, as we build this stuff and as we build these different circuits, maybe we'll just leave them on the map, and we'll do them in different places on the map, and we'll just leave them there, and then we can revisit them as needed. So there it is. All right, guys. Just a quick. I know it's a little bit convoluted because that's the way my brain works, but yeah, let me know what you think. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.